I want to have just the wine bar first.
Si yo no te escribo, tú no me escribes. Ey. Si tú quieres te busco, yo sé dónde tú vives. Quizá hoy está.
Damn. All right, so this is what, episode 3 of the When podcast. We got Rick Soto on the podcast. So Rick Soto is big time here in Austin. I'm gonna let you introduce yourself to like the audience or whatever. Tell them a little bit about what you do, and then we get the bitch cracking.
All right, well, Rick Soto, founder of Soto Co. We specialize in custom suits and accessories. We also transitioned to have a dual concept with the barbershop as well. And we've been in business since 2016. Started out in a mobile truck, and then now we have the opportunity to have a little bit more space and operate out of this building right now. So we started build out in about February. So we're just about done, and things are a lot better.
Bro, that's dope as shit. Like, I don't think people understand because they can't see the truck outside right now.
It's an old UPS truck, pretty much. Yeah.
And like this whole new setup is really like next level tier. So like Rick Soto really started off like you said, UPS truck, and this shit is like a whole new shop. So, bro, starting off this shop, like, what was the biggest challenge? Because you low key like leveled up and shit. Something very different.
I'd say the biggest challenge is like, man, it's been so easy because my truck is like what, 200 square feet. My other shop across the street's like 400 square feet.
Oh, so, you got another one?
Yeah. So having 2,000 square feet and coming in, and this was an old auto mechanic garage, and it's just being a blank canvas, and it's like, what am I gonna do with all this space?
Right.
So that was like the biggest challenge. And then obviously with the way things are right now, with materials being slow and costs being high, strategically finding a way to get things done where we're not like spending too much.
Right.
Because I think the problem with knowing is exactly how much things cost before they shot up.
Right.
So you're like, wait a minute, I'm not spending $13 on one like 2x4. You know what I'm saying? It's like trying to find that way. So luckily, good thing about suits is everybody needs one, and there's a lot of people in different industries, and luckily I was able to connect with a couple of my clients to get a great deal on a lot of the materials, and we're able to make it happen. So
bro, like, how in the fuck, because like this is the first time talking about suits with you, but like, how in the fuck did you get into a suit business? Because like that's just something so niche, you know what I'm saying? So like, were you like building clothing for them?
So I like the whole story is I like drawing and dressing well.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, all right, how do I combine these two interests? And it's like, I'm going to do neckties. So after college, I moved to New York, and over there, obviously, everybody's dressed to the nines. And that's where the kind of the idea came around. And that's when like the kind of mindset came in. It's like, yo, maybe I should just do a necktie collection. Yeah. So came back, moved to Dallas. I started a little necktie collection. And then a guy that I worked with in New York knew a guy who had a suit company. And he's like, yo, y'all should co-promote each other's brands. I was like, fantastic. So I hit him up. He like stole me the suits. I showed him my ties. And I was getting a good book of business down here, but he really wasn't promoting my stuff over there. I was like, well, damn, I could do this stuff myself.
Right.
Plus, I'm only getting 20%. There's 80% of the pie left out there. So I just started connecting with fabrics, with tailors from all over the world. I had each of them like...
Hold on, like... You just started reaching out to these fuckers? All over the world? Yeah. You saying, like, I started reaching out to motherfuckers all over the world.
Yeah, so like the Google, like, Mexico, China, Italy, Vietnam, like all these places. And I had each of them make me a suit. Right. And then I had them make me a suit, and I took it to a master tailor, and I was like, yo, I need you to dissect these, please. Like, let me know which one's the best quality first and foremost, turnaround time and price. And then he dissected them all and told me the one that was the best, and that's the one I went with, and I kept going through there. At that time, it worked out because I was doing pharmaceutical sales. So I was doing pharmaceutical sales. My drug lost its patent, so there was not another drug in the pipeline that can sustain the type of revenue that this drug was doing. So what they did is they decided to lay off 100% of the sales force. But they're like, we're going to hire 50% back. I'm like, not really good at pharma. It's not really my thing. But so I was like, I'm not going to re-interview. I was like, just give me the severance, and I'll leave. I took my severance, and that's what I used to buy the truck. Yeah. And I bought and remodeled the truck. So it's funny because in my mindset, when I was budgeting out like with this truck, I was like, man, truck's gonna be $5,000. would take $3,000 to put into it.
Right.
But less than $10,000 in, we're all good. Like $50,000 later, I'm like, what the hell?
Wait, what was like the most expensive?
Man, so
Maintenance and
I
shit?
got lucky because there was another truck at the domain where I started who were women's
I
clothes.
remember that.
So they were able to like educate me on everything that I needed. And it's like, oh, $10,000 for the wrap, $4,000 for the generator. You know, you're basically building this bitch like it's a house. Like you're doing the insulation, you're doing
Fuck
this,
the
you're doing
5,000.
that. It's like things were just wiped out. So yeah. So after that, we were able to, once it was done, we were able to roll it into the domain.
Quick question on that truck. Do you have carpet or did you put like wood? Because I've seen some like mobile barbers.
That bitch pimped out.
Oh, it's pimped out? Yeah, I seen
Yeah,
some,
so
like, mobile
it was
barbers.
so the funny part is when we first did it, because on limited funds,
Right.
my dad and I did it together, and we did laminate flooring.
What is that?
It's like not hardwood, it's like a plastic type of thing. It's really thin,
Oh,
so it
okay.
didn't add a lot of weight to the building and stuff
Right.
into the truck. So we were able to
that's
lay
looked
that
dope.
down. Yeah, we just did like this very old like prohibition style, like modern industrial with piping and stuff like that. The problem was the thing on the top was fiberglass, so it was hot as hell, and I didn't have a back door,
Right.
so it was open.
Damn.
So I used to feel so bad because I used to have people come in buying suits, and they would come and try it on just sweating.
And they had to wait in that bitch.
And I was like,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm definitely not gonna make it.
I would have had a little ass fan. Like,
Yeah,
Nah,
bro.
yeah.
No, but I'm so selfish because I'm standing in front of the AC. I'm like,
Yeah.
y'all try this on. I'm here trying to stay
Hey,
cool.
Ricky got the tape.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm in the suit right now because I used to wear suits in the truck, and I was like, nah. But yeah, that's basically how it is. I wrote in the domain, was there for about 2 years.
The domain, real quick. That's that outdoor shopping mall for the
Yeah,
people
that
that don't
was
know,
it.
right?
Yeah,
here in
yeah,
Austin.
yeah. So what worked out well is where I was set up outside was
Mhm.
right across the street from an Apple store
Right.
and a Starbucks. So the foot traffic was really
Mm.
good, and nobody's at this point. Everybody
you like
only
analyzing that shit already. You was just like, man, I'm just gonna set up shop over here.
it just worked out because that's where the other truck was. So I was able to really like negotiate a way to where I could just be next to them, and it could be like a little bit of a truck spot.
Yeah, y'all pay
Uh,
like fees and stuff too.
Yeah, which was crazy. So we paid monthly, but per square footage, I was paying more than what people were paying for an actual brick
Shop.
and mortar.
How
Yeah.
much?
Yeah. So I was paying. I think it came out to like $1,500 a
Oh
month.
hell no! Hell no! You know how much my parents pay at Cheese's?
Well, it
That bitch
started.
like 3 racks,
yeah.
but it's actually a whole corner. Store.
Yeah, it's a whole corner spot, but this was 2012, 2011 when they first opened.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big spot, bro. I'll say probably as big as this, but they were paying $2,000. Well, now they're paying $3,500. But
Right.
just just give you some
That-
numbers.
Yeah,
that's
from
already
12
telling you like the market.
Oh, yeah.
Austin was already like picking up and shit.
It's insane, right? And
Yeah.
like you start learning about terms you didn't think about, like triple nets and stuff like that. Like, wait, this is the rent, but then you're adding this extra
Yeah.
every month, and then this fluctuates every year based on what the market value is. It's
Yeah.
like, oh wow, like that's not $3,000 a month. That's more like $8,000. You know, when you
Right.
start thinking about brick and mortars and stuff like that. Luckily, with the truck concept, it was
Mhm.
small, right? So I was able to test out the waters and see if it worked
Right.
before diving all in. Because I always told myself, like, like it's easier to go this route rather than do this fully committed thing and be locked in for 8 years and then not knowing if this whole concept is going to work or not. Plus, being in Austin, I think it's like complemented the culture with like,
Right.
hey, just throw wheels on it,
Right.
and then everybody liked it
So, did you have a contract for,
with the domain.
right, or was it like more of a on demand, just pay by the month type?
It
deal?
was no, that's a good question. It was. I think we did it like in small increments, like 3
Like a
months,
lease on
6
some
months,
shit.
yeah. Because I would have my designated spot. I would use their electricity.
Yeah.
So it was like a very monthly basis. It got to the point where Apple left because this is now where they started building the north side where Rock
Oh,
Rose
shit,
is
that's
at.
right, yeah, I
So
seen that.
Apple left, they opened the second Starbucks, so the foot traffic wasn't there. But they're like, yo, we're gonna need like 2,000 a month. I'm like, wait, what?
That's
Like
crazy,
everybody's
bro.
leaving, but y'all are going up.
Yeah, come up
So-
out your shit.
So I was like, man, I'm gonna just
That's
have to look for
crazy,
different
bro.
places to go.
Well, like a lot of people think like that's what when we talking business and shit, bro, like people think there's not real cost to that. Like, nah, bro, you gotta pay for even like the side, like these food trucks. You can't just set up shop. You gotta like pay for that.
Nah,
Start
man.
accounting for that.
Oh yeah, and I mean insurance is real and all that other stuff is real. You know,
Right.
you have to have all these things that comply with whoever the landlord is.
Right.
And you know, just starting this out in the truck, I thought I could just
Yeah.
pull up and hey, open up shop. But nah, everybody's gonna get their piece.
Right.
Can you take us through the process of what it took to get those permits, or did you kind of just make an agreement with the landlord, or did you go to the city? You know, 'cause
Man,
depending if it's
so
food or-
luckily with how this was,
Yeah.
you know, because I feel like permitting and all that stuff is like just way over my head, and we'll get to
Right.
that when we talk about this place. But I was able just to make an agreement with the people who own the domain.
Mhm.
It's like, hey, this is my lease. I am a tenant. You know, this is what do y'all require for me to have? I'll get that, and that's it. You know, sales tax, you know, the selling license, permits, insurance.
All types of bullshit.
Yeah,
Pretty
I was
much.
like, just tell me what I need to open these doors, and then I'll figure the rest out. And I mean, luckily, it was really very easy
Yeah.
just to set up shop and open up, and nobody bothered me and nobody moved in my spot because I just kept the truck
Yeah.
there. So it was it was pretty easy because I don't think I could have. I think a lot of it would have been overwhelming if I would have jumped into something like this with all those extra permitting things and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn. So like, bro, in terms of like, I know you said it took a couple of times like to really be like, okay, I gotta test this shit out before I go like full time. When was that moment when you went full time? Like,
Bro, I went as soon as I
did you
said,
just feel that shit? You was just like, man, I'm just gonna go.
bro, it's so scary. Like this,
I bet.
the second that I got the second that I took the layoff,
Right.
that I got
Wait,
laid
how
off.
long? Damn, fuck, my bad. Like, how long?
Let's put
I
timelines together,
I just
you
thought
know.
about another question.
Yeah.
Like, how long was it that you were testing the concept?
I
And then
didn't.
You were like,
So I didn't. So what I used to do when it was a side hustle, it was pocket squares and neckties and flower lapels, right? So
Yeah.
nothing more than $100.
Right.
So was my test. I never sold suits. So
and that shit was working.
huh?
That shit was like working and shit.
I put myself in positions where it wouldn't fail, right? Like I'm putting myself in like men's fashion expos, and I got my little table set up on weekends. Like they're gonna like what I sell.
right.
You know, I'll buy this for my husband for $20, $30 and all that good stuff. I used to come out like $1,000 and I thought like, hell yeah, like this is a great day.
Yeah.
But I never did it with suits. The only time I sold a suit was when I was learning through the other guy.
Right.
And then when I opened up the truck. And then so I was like, oh, we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
that comes from business. I was gonna say.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as far as the process of actually taking in a client, what does that look like? Because I'm sure you get phone calls. Like earlier, you were getting phone calls and stuff. So, what is that process like? Like, what do you look for, or because I'm sure a lot of people just come in here to browse and waste time. So, how do you know when someone is serious and you're like, all right, let's get this suit rolling?
So the good thing about leaving the domain and going somewhere else is because at the domain I had to be operating on their hours, right? So I was Tuesday
Oh, yeah,
through
true.
Sunday, 10 to 6, 10 to 7, sitting in the truck. It's very rare that somebody's gonna walk in and be like, you know what? I think I'm gonna spend $1,000 on a suit today. So a lot of it was browsing, a lot of it was looking, coming back. What helped with the domain is that it kind of gave me a little bit of like brand identity.
Yeah.
So it gave me some exposure. Now I'm just appointment only. So people do their research, they go online, they schedule appointments. I send them FAQs and I break down the process. Like, this is what you can expect. This is where we start on the prices. This is our turnaround time. So that kind of filters out I'm looking to spend
Yeah.
$400 for a suit, or I need it by Saturday.
Right.
It's like setting those expectations right in the front. So when you come in, it's like, okay, we know what the process is. Plus, to schedule an appointment, it's a $25 fee. So at that point, if you don't buy anything, it's okay. But because you took that hour from somebody else, like it's going to cost something. So that's kind of how we filter. But if they buy anything, we credit it back to the purchase, and then everybody's typically pretty happy.
Yeah, bro. Like the whole transitioning process, like you when you start a business, right? You got like no kind of like the price points and a lot of I guess for us, like with when like you start thinking about, okay, price automatically. Where should I price myself? Or like even any regular business, you know what I'm saying? That's just like a shit that you got to start thinking about. You come in this hole, don't really have much experience running a business. You're like, where should I price myself?
Yeah.
In your industry, that's very hard because I'm pretty sure you're one of the few like minorities.
So what was difficult was like,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Especially in Austin, like.
Yeah. What was difficult is I took a price point that I started out with, and I never believe in like, oh, I'm going to price it this high until like I've earned my stripes, right? Because I didn't have all the answers. So I priced it very low. And then I realized like, okay, this is how much everything's really costing.
Mm-hmm.
At first it's like, oh, this is how much a suit costs. Cool. This is how much I expect alterations to be. Fine. And then, you get 1 or 2 orders here and there. And then it gets to the point where, all right, well, now I got to buy hangers and I got to buy garment bags and I got to do this. And it's like, oh, damn, all that little profit margin just shrinks super quickly. Like, wait, I'm not working for free right now and taking L's. So it's just, it was like a work in progress. And it took, I would say for the first year, trying to get a good understanding of what a good price range is. Like, cause at the same time, like, I don't want to be K&G prices or Zara prices, but I didn't earn my stripes where I'm getting like Tom Ford prices, So it was just kind of finding a way to not be the cheapest, but not be the most expensive, especially just starting out too, right?
And I'm guessing that's something like the consumer answers, right? Or like, like based on what type of feedback they're giving you, if you go too high, they're kind of like, okay, business.
I think a lot of it was more looking at the sheets and be like, wait a minute, if I sold this suit that much, and then it started with like, okay, well, I'm selling this many suits, I should have like at least this kind of money. And it's like, wait a minute, no, it's all going to making it. It's like, well, we're just gonna have to increase the prices. I think a funny thing though too is coming like with my folks, I think my dad is always going to be like my biggest supporter, but then always my toughest critic next to myself. And he's like, nobody's going to spend $600 on the suit from a truck. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, you know what? I was like, yeah, that's right. And then, but it's so funny because now it's like, yeah, you should charge $1,500 or charge $3,000 for a suit. I was like, oh, okay, now everybody's bought in. Yeah. So it's like just kind of going with the flow and kind of learning through the process. And then, luckily I was able to learn a lot sooner than later where, I was taking L's. But yeah,
I mean, you know your worth too. So for example, I bring up like our parents example because they make, some pretty good food. And sometimes people go in there and they'll be like, oh, it's too pricey or it's too expensive, blah, blah, blah. It's like, all right, if you want a cheap pizza or if you want a cheap pasta or if you want oven wings, go to Little Caesars, Here we make everything from scratch. So
for sure,
I'm sure you pretty much make everything from scratch type deal. Like you measure everything. It's not like the suit's already made and then, you know what I'm saying? It's like you go above and beyond and cater to the person and their needs and like what they need, right? To be fitted.
1,000%. Yeah. So like it's I wanted to make sure the product is top notch, right? Because I put my name on it. So it's like, I don't want it to be half-ass anything, Yeah. So that thing, and I want to make sure that I go above and beyond, especially right now. Like the number you call that you see on Google is coming straight to my hip, right? So I'm answering the calls. I'm walking you through the entire process. I'm here. I'm making sure that everything is done. And these are things that you can't get at some of the big mainstream places or places where, you have sales associates that are getting commission that don't really care. Like I value making sure that every client can be as happy as possible. And right now I'm the only one that does that. So I think that does add to the level of value, because I think a lot of the times one of the questions I get that I just hate, it's so why should I choose you over somebody else? I'm like, bro, I hate that, bro. And at this point, I'm like, just go somewhere else. Like, because, it's like, and I think the answer to that is, because we all have access to the same fabrics. We can all do pretty much the same thing.
Right.
I think it's those extra bits and pieces that you probably won't get somewhere else. And that is like me answering the phone at a certain time, or me making sure that, we got this fitting right, or if anything were to happen, we can be resourceful and figure out a way to solve the problem and stuff like that. I think those are the things that you don't get anywhere else. Plus, I try to create an atmosphere and a vibe where people can enjoy it. And it's a fun shopping experience, not just for the man, but for their wife or their significant other, and people to come in and just feel comfortable that when they leave, they're like, oh yeah, that was fun. I'm gonna tell my friend about him.
Yeah, us coming in, we saw the truck, we saw the spot. We were like, bro, this is actually really clean as hell. I was like, I wish there was like barbers right now working, so it could like chop me up.
I was gonna say, you know who chopped me up this morning? Cause over
I
here,
actually
my shit
cut
was
his hair.
bro. I was saying, nah, let's wait on Ricky because I know his barber gonna be there.
One thing I learned about the barber industry, they don't work on Mondays. Yeah. They don't work on Mondays.
Bro, sometimes they do be lazy. I'm not gonna lie. My barber's been out for like a week.
He low-key fucked my shit up though.
Bro. Look, so
I'm so saucy.
I cut hair maybe like once every 3 months.
Oh yeah.
Is that what? That's not a $5 cut, or you call that a $5 cut?
Nah, I pay this bitch probably $3. You know when I was in Colombia, I was paying like $2. Real talk, $1.50.
Appreciate you.
I used to go to Fast, what's it called? Fast Eddie's in
Are you
college.
And because I didn't have, I didn't speak Spanish. I used to have my best friend translate it for me.
God.
And bro, they used to mess me up all the time. Bro, I hate it when people come. I get so scared.
Wait, what do you get? You get a hard haircut, or you get like just a taper or mid fade, or what do you
Man, I do the little as possible. Like cause like my hair, it just goes
curls
out,
going on.
right?
Shit,
so like I'm like, keep the side shorter than the top, but don't cut the top too much, because a lot of people don't realize that when the curl, it's long, but when it curls down, it gets short.
True.
So a lot of the times, like people would just start cutting, and then it's like my head looks super small. Like my hair is super small, my head looks super big. I'm like, man, if you don't know what you're doing, just don't touch this. Just clean it back here, and we're good.
Dang.
Bro. But now you can get your cousin.
Oh, now
wait, is that your brother? Is that like?
No. I mean, we're like brothers now. So I connected with Trey and I known each other, through mutual people for a while. Yeah. And then I was supposed to do this concept in Houston, and the concept didn't work out. They ended up doing it somewhere else, and so I was like, well, cool. I think it's a cool concept. So let's find a way to do it, but we never really had the way to do it because of the space. Trey's in Kyle. He has a lot of clients in Austin. Damn. So it was like
45 minutes.
And then he would do house calls. So you're like driving all over town. So crazy. Like I've been driving next to this building probably for like a year and a change, never saw it. And then one day I was like, why does that thing say for lease? So I drove around and then I saw the 3 garage doors. I'm like, oh man, that's it. Like that's what I need. And so I hit up Trey. I'm like, yo, it's like I found the spot, like the concept we're talking about, like this is the space.
I was talking about this shit already.
I always mentioned it to him, but it never really came to fruition because of the size. Yeah. But when I saw this, I was like, yo, Trey, like this is the spot that I think we could do this in.
Yeah.
So so he was on board because he was able to come down here, and then we connected with Joaquin, and Joaquin is solid. He's another barber that's in town, right. And he's solid. Us 3 work really well together, and so they cut Tuesday through Sunday. Damn. And their clientele is insane. Like their chairs are just rotating all the way around.
Oh, I'm sure they stay booked, bro.
They're solid, and it's cool because now that at least I can speak for Trey because him being in Kyle, being here, like he can pick up more business and not have to worry about people like not coming to Kyle. So it's so funny. There's so many people that come like, yeah, Mo, I stopped going to you because you were in Kyle, and now that you're here, I'll come back. Who's that?
Nah, like off top.
Oh, they could hop in the podcast.
Hey, they got an appointment.
They stop right there.
Yeah, we'll see.
Hey, but like off top, this shit is crazy though because like I've never seen like a Tailor where it's just like paired up with suits and shit,
It just makes sense, right? Like look good, feel good. Like my clientele, like especially with weddings and stuff like that.
They're probably waiting around too, you know what I'm saying? Like what was the usual process? They usually come down, sit down, and like you're getting measured out.
And it's cool because they'll sit here and then they'll look at the barbers and they're like, damn, I need a haircut. Or we have a wedding and we want the wedding party to get cut. Or their clients are sitting there and like, what the hell's over there? And it's like, there's just so much
You know who we
crossover.
need to plug his ass in with?
Who?
Sanj.
Oh,
Squire.
Sanj. Hell yeah.
Is he a barber?
No, that's a dude we interviewed for podcast number 2.
Uh-huh.
But they basically have software for like barbershops. So barbershops are cash based, right?
Yeah.
And they have software where you could actually download their app and everything is like
It's like an
kinda like
automated
Resi
experience,
Resi
bro.
for barbershop. Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
pretty dope because you could like have all types of locations. Payment is done before you even get there.
Yeah.
It's like boom, get there, tip done, you're out of there.
It's pretty fascinating. Like, yeah, because they both use different type of services for their booking.
Yeah.
And I know they have like the thing you can purchase the haircut before. But it's like, yeah, we kept it true with the whole barbershop. It just even got an ATM.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you. I was like, oh yeah, I got an
Oh, shit, I
ATM.
just saw that.
Yeah, because my tattoo artist has an ATM too. So a lot of people walk in there and they're like, damn, I don't got cash because he's just cash based. He's like,
It's
that's cool,
cash
get the
based,
ATM. And bro, when I tell you the ATM really be ripping people in, it's just so convenient. People
Yeah,
just
shit,
boom,
bro, I don't
let's get it.
pay with cash anymore.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like
anything.
Venmo is like huge for them. Like Venmo,
Use
like if they're
Cash
not
App.
doing it, the Venmo Cash App. I tried to use the ATM, but I was like, hey, can you increase it to 1,000? He's like, man, then I'm not making money. I was like, man, you're not supposed to be making money.
Hey, little do we know, he got one of those skimmers or what they call it. Or what they put on.
Taking that bitch home.
Everybody would call it taking the info.
But yo, because we're on the east side, we got to cover everything. Like they don't want the TVs, they don't want anything. They want the
Yeah.
ATM and the liquor. So we got to make sure those are
Yeah.
covered.
So like in terms of bro, like you know, making the whole shift. Now that we're talking about the warehouse, I know we was talking about earlier the challenge of having growth. How have you been dealing with that shit? Because one of the things that I think is very fundamental to business that people don't understand, just because you got growth doesn't mean it's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
You got to know how to manage that growth. Maybe you got growth, but you're having more losses in the income coming in. How have you been dealing with this expansion? You know, just going out of a truck and I was like, okay, we got to go expand and have different type of ventures.
Man, it's been a challenge because like literally it's been pretty easy, you know, easy going. 2019, 2020, obviously 2020 it is what it is, but like I really wasn't prepared for the increase in 2021.
Increase in what?
Like I guess in customers and orders and stuff like that.
That shit really came in heavy.
Yeah, and it was. I mean, you kind of had an idea that it was going to happen just because it's like you just take the wedding market alone. People couldn't get married, so when
motherfuckers was waiting.
when they finally could, it's like, oh, let's get married. So that was a huge increase. And at this point, when I moved into my other shop, when I first left the truck, it was me by myself, and I had 2 spaces, and you know, and then it became difficult. Where it's like, oh my goodness, I can't start do these fittings, do alterations, and then take it to my tailor and him knock it at his home because I couldn't afford to have a full-time tailor.
Right.
And then luckily it was able to come more where then I was able to get a full-time tailor. So that's one problem that was knocked off the list, I think. But long story short, when it comes down to it, like I'm still in the phase where I'm learning how to cope with it all. I used to be able to do everything by myself and it wasn't any problem.
Yeah.
Now I've realized there's things that I don't necessarily have to do. So I'm trying to put
Such as like what?
man, like little bitty things, right? Like branding and packaging and shipping and pressing and you know answering follow-up emails or doing like things.
You do all this shit yourself.
I
Right
do,
now.
yeah, like literally at this point, still outside of just doing the alterations, like everything's me. So
Damn, that's tough, bro.
so
I know that shit.
yeah, and it's difficult because now you have you know so many people that you're responsible of.
Mhm.
And from a consumer standpoint, they're looking at me as like, wait, I'm your number one client, right? You have my wedding, which is the biggest day of my life. So I need you to be available. And then I'm like, oh, but I got to go to LA and do 10 to 15 suits for somebody else. And then this is like, but then I got to go somewhere else because we need something for the season.
right.
And it's like, but when I'm gone, nothing's operating, you know? So it's like, I'm at the point right now where I'm trying to create a way where I can start delegating tasks so I can start freeing myself up to do more things. more things to kind of grow, scale, and expand. Because I think right now I've hit the ceiling where everything that I can do on my own, I can do on my own. Especially now I got a 10-month-old baby, so time is precious, and these are the times I want to be around the baby the most.
We just became uncles, bro.
Yeah, how old? Like brand new?
Shit, May. I think, no.
6
It was actually
months, 7
June.
months.
It was June, bro.
No, it's May.
Gianni?
Yeah, it was May,
Oh,
bro.
it was
'cause
May. I was in Colombia. I lost
St.
track of
Thomas.
time.
Yeah, you.
That's facts. Yeah,
May,
it was
June,
May.
July.
Bro, but like
Oh, it's
6 months is when they get cool. That's when it's fun.
Yeah, but like he's a little crybaby.
Yeah, he is a
That
crybaby.
motherfucker be crying.
Dang, man.
Ain't crying. My sister be
Yeah,
mad.
I know.
So
He
how-
said their baby don't cry though, like that.
Nah.
Oh, that's lit.
So he good.
So how do you handle with all this
The
pressure,
pressure,
bro?
yeah.
Like, what do you do on a day to day
Bro,
where
I be
you like?
spazzing and we don't even have revenue.
I know
Like-
it's like we be spazzing and Jill
Drink
be like,
wine.
bro. Jill was just
I drink a lot of wine.
Jill was telling me, he was like, "Hey man, I feel like my edge is finally starting to come in. Like, bro, this
Oh yeah,
pressure
this
is
bitch is coming in for
crazy."
sure.
So,
Like,
bro, it's
get my
like
edge up.
I know pressure be hitting you. So, what do you do on a day to day to kind of like handle that pressure? I know you're like a one man show, but
I think when I get some time, or I do still try to delegate time. I guess a good thing about like being an entrepreneur and being your own boss is like
Yeah.
you kind of set your schedule. So if I have something that I plan on doing, I'm gonna block this time out and I'm gonna do it.
Right.
But then the only problem is I gotta filter everything that needs to be done into the days that I'm gonna be here. But yeah, I think things that ease my mind. We have playing golf. I try to do that as much
There
as
you go.
possible. Having some good wine with some friends, and then even now that we can go back to the movies, like I love going to the movies because that's like 2.5 hours, like by myself, and like I'm not answering my phone, I'm not doing anything. I'm just gonna watch this movie and then I'll answer everything when I get out.
Yeah.
So that's probably a good way to
motherfuckers
disconnect.
gonna say I'm old, bro. But when I was in Colombia, the movies was only $5.
Oh,
So
yeah,
me and my
you
girl was
telling
going to like the movies. We get popcorn. Oh, by the way, you get a box of popcorn like this. It's called like the childish popcorn or some shit. Like, cause motherfuckers be getting popcorn like this big. I'm not even capping. Go search that whole up
bro,
on
like
Google.
$5.
Bro, big. And we got the child box. So me and my girl was like, we be eating crunchy. Like what she likes to call it, we like healthy and shit. So we was like, oh yeah, let's get a small box of popcorn. We go in that hole, like we got some drinks. And bro, we'll chill in there watching like a movie for 3 hours. And then go home and it's like, all right, time to go to sleep. Like,
Yeah.
bro, like I love that shit.
Yeah.
You been a studio movie grill?
Yeah.
You ever got-
Yeah. Oh, that's the best. Now
Yeah, I
that you
was
can
gonna
get
say,
the
the weed's
food
kinda
and the
fire,
drinks
bro.
too,
Yeah, I
man.
seen that mug.
I be going to AMC. What cinema? I heard of that.
AMC
but,
got it now too. I
Well,
mean,
they got
obviously
the diner,
Alamo is
too,
probably
yeah.
a solid one that we
I
go
used
to.
to
Alamo's
Studio,
here in
though.
Austin.
Yeah,
Yeah. I used to be a broke boy back in college. I couldn't go to that.
bro, that's how I feel about iPick. Like, wait, I'm not about to spend $30
You
to
be
sit
in
in
the
the movie,
putting Putlocker after
Hey,
every
nah,
movie.
for real. I didn't even have Netflix, bro. That subscription was too.
bro. What I used to do is I would go to a movie and then I'd stay for another movie and just walk into
Oh,
it.
you
and
could
walk-
just go in
yeah,
there?
I just be
Just
getting
like be hopping. and
yeah, because it was too expensive.
Hey
That
man,
was
but they
cool.
started labeling like the seats now, so it's like
Yeah, I don't think you can do that nowadays.
What?
yeah, like the seats got a label, so like people book. Like let's say I go to like the fourth row and then E. So if I pull up and I see Rican on E, I'll be like, hey bro, you in my seat?
Yeah, that
You gotta
sucks.
move.
I got this bitch on the app.
shit. You gotta move.
Say man, I got a question. So when we first walked in, I see you got like boxing gloves, you got autographed jerseys, you got footballs and all this cool stuff. Can you name some of like the biggest maybe NFL stars, NBA stars, hockey, or just
that boy
any
Keys.
athlete that you've worked with?
Man, I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of cool people. Going, I think one of the first few that I had the opportunity to work with was Earl Thomas, Jalen
Jeez.
Ramsey, then passing up and going to the younger guys
What about
nowadays
NFC
like
East Cowboys.
Micah Parsons.
Okay.
And it's cool. And I think what's pretty awesome is like even back from when I was working with Jalen and Earl from back then,
Yeah.
and then the guys in between, and then the newer guys now. Like what's so cool is that they're all really down to earth, and really into fashion. So it's like makes the dynamic that much more fun. because you get the opportunity to be a little bit more creative.
True.
And then getting to work with good people because you know in your mindset you're like, oh, they got this much money and then you expect them to have this kind of personality. But man, it was so cool. I remember the first time when I'm just getting started and I go to Jacksonville to meet with Jalen, and he has me come in. He's like, bro, you want something to eat? His chef made me meals. We had the fabric side. And I'm like, man, it's like such a genuine, kind person. And it's pretty cool because like throughout the years I've been doing this, everybody that I had the chance to work with have been, you know, just like that. Like I met with Clint Dempsey, who was
Clint Dempsey,
was a soccer player.
Dempsey, I know.
Probably one of the coolest people I've ever met. But I gotta tell you, I think it's a cool story how this works out. So I had the opportunity to work with Emmanuel Ocho and talking about like loyalty and being with and growing with people, and obviously, you know, the level of growth are completely different with what he's doing. But like him working with me when I just started, and then you know where he's at now, and then we still, you know, do great things, do great work together. Like I was just out there last week, you know, getting his fits ready for the entire year. So it's like you know, it's cool. So I having that relationship that we developed with Emmanuel. So with Clint Dempsey, it was crazy. So his brother Ryan, your substitute teacher,
bro, you thought I was capping. I thought you was.
He hit me up and he's like, I need a suit. And I was like, when do you need a suit?
Wait, who hit you up, Ryan?
Ryan hit me up. He's like, I need a suit. And I was like, he's like, my brother's Clint Dempsey. I got to do his Hall of Fame speech. I'm trying to, you know, I want to look good. Like I need a suit. And I was like, when do you need the suit by? And this was like Monday. He says, I need it like Saturday. I'm like, bro. I was like, we can't make it, but come in. Yeah. Let me see if I got something. So he came in. So he came in, and a lot of times it's weird, especially with the pandemic. People would leave suits. I don't know if they got married, or they didn't get married, or they decided they didn't need it. They'll leave them.
Like what?
Like they'll buy a suit. I'll order it. I'll make it, and they just won't come.
Damn.
Yeah,
they still pay for it though, right?
It's all paid for and everything. Yeah, so it's just here. And I'm like,
what do you do? You just leave it there?
It's there. So sometimes when people come in, they're in a tight crunch. I'm like, what's your height and weight? I might have something for you. Yeah. Luckily, this was one of those cases. Mm-hmm. So he came in. We set Ryan up. He looked sharp for the Hall of Fame speech. He's like, yo, I want to connect you with my brother. It's like, hell yeah, that'd be awesome because it's the World Cup year, and now he is an analyst, so he needs suits. Yeah. So he connected me. We talked through text message, and then we were connected for me to go out there. And we were going out there. I was like, yo, I can head out there Monday. You know, I'll get you set up. He's like, well, you know, this is with Fox. You know, they said they're gonna set me up with somebody. So don't come like out there yet.
Already and shit.
Yeah. Emmanuel works for Fox.
Oh, true.
So through Emmanuel, I have the opportunity to work with his stylist, Victoria, who's like amazing. So I was like, wait, I know these stylists at Fox. So I hit Victoria up. I was like, yo, I'm trying to work with Clint Dempsey. And she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you text me. We're trying to find somebody to work with Clint. Wow. Like, yeah, tell them like it's all good. You're good to go. So I head out there, suited him up. So I'll be, you know, getting everything situated here like in the end of September. So so you can take off to Qatar for the World Cup.
Wait, so they be having stylists like at Fox to like
yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's how like the industry works.
They have a solid group of stylists.
I seen Emmanuel Ocho, he be sharp than a motherfucker. And I see you sharing his shit, and then Ian Rappaport.
Yeah,
I was like, that boy Ian. Like,
they
I was like, hold on, like,
I was gonna say,
actually styling themselves?
You think Charles Barker be fly?
No,
you think he got sweat? Like Charles Barker be getting.
I don't, but Shaq be having some fly shit.
I mean, you look at Emmanuel. Emmanuel's a stylish guy, right? I think he has.
So they have personal people.
Yeah, so Emmanuel probably is more interested in fashion than somebody else. Where
Adam Schefter.
And Adam Schefter, right? Yeah. So Adam Schefter would probably just like hook him up. Okay. They probably hook him up.
Ricky Soto suit.
Yeah, he does.
For real.
So yeah, they'll probably just hook him up with the classics and stuff like that. And he's good to go. Where as somebody is like stylish as Emmanuel, where we're playing with colors and patterns and stuff like that. Like he wants to be in on it too. So it's kind of cool to see how that works. And same thing with Ian. Like Ian, he very sharp, very clean, but he likes the classics that we can switch and change a lot and get a lot of use out of, and just as long as it looks good.
That's cool, but I didn't even know it worked like that. I thought it was just like people come in.
I didn't either. Yeah, I
got
didn't
a quick
either.
question, bro. Have you ever styled somebody with a suit and probably threw on some like clean ass J's or like some Nikes and you're like, that's the one, that's the fit?
All the time.
like,
You all the time?
All
Okay.
the time,
Yeah,
yeah.
that shit.
Yeah, and sometimes I get mad when they try it on with J's and they're like, man, I'm not gonna go with it. I'm like, oh, but it looks so good. It looks so good. I know a lot of people are against like certain sneakers with suits and stuff like that. I think at the end of the day, like I'll tell you what the traditional rules are. But at the end of the day, what I'm doing is all about custom, right? And we're customizing things to fit your personality and your style. So I'm not the one to come in and tell you like, yeah, don't do this. Like do whatever you want. We're just gonna make it look good.
So what's the hardest part in the process when you're actually doing something custom for somebody? Because for example, me, man, I'll tell you, it's like depending on my body type, it's really hard for me to always fit into some jeans. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
I got some small ass legs, so I can't like.
Yeah, it's like my upper body kind of like, I don't want to say I'm shaped like a pizza, but it's like my legs are smaller than my upper body.
I didn't know he was going there.
You know what I'm saying? It's like like for example, my waist size is 32.
It's like working with different people's
exactly.
bodies.
But when I go to Zara, it's like it could be a 30 or 33. So I'm like, bro, during the pandemic, because
I
really
shifted
hard
from 31 to 34, and I can't find a size.
So I know you have like, for example, if I was to be your client, bro, you're gonna struggle because I already know. So how do you go? What's the most difficult part of the body of kind of like measuring and trying to really customize?
Man, to be honest, like none of it's really difficult as far as measuring. It's kind of like just understand the expectations that the client has and kind of like create that for them. I use the word proportion a lot because that's what it comes down to, it, right? It's like, you know, you don't want to have like, you know, a super tight, you know, jacket and like baggy pants, right?
Exactly.
You want everything to be, you want everything to look. You want everything to look good, but I think sometimes it's like having those conversations with these clients, like, okay, this is what your frame is like. This is your body type. This is what I think is going to look good.
Right.
Now, if you want to roll my suggestion, not, I mean, that's on you, but I'm going to tell you what is going to look the best.
You're basically like a consultant too.
Exactly. Yeah. And a lot of people have an idea of what they see themselves like, but then it doesn't like pan out when it comes down to it, right? And I think the biggest people that I have this trouble with are like older gentlemen, because it's like, wait, I'm in my 50s, I'm used to having this, I want it like this, but then when you create it like that, then it's like, wait, it shocks my body. I'm not used to having anything fit me like this.
They want them boot cut pants.
Oh, hold on, no, that's good you said that, because my stupid ass went to JCPenney before they went bankrupt, and like I was getting a suit. That was sophomore year, and
I remember that.
I remember that bitch.
Yeah,
bro, I was pissed, bro. I actually needed that help for the interest meeting, and I got a blue suit, bro. And like they told me, oh yeah, we got you. Come into the bag. We're gonna tailor you real quick. And like I don't know if they just did a one size fits all, but like I had these boot cut ass pants with like a nice fitted fucking jacket. Didn't look good.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? I pulled up to that hole. My shit was floating around, standing up looking goofy in a bitch. I was like, nah, I don't like this. And that was the last time I was like, man, if I go get a suit, I'm actually going to get it tailored. And that's when I started respecting like people like Zara more, because Zara actually has suits and I don't know what they do. They just like tailor them.
Yeah.
And it looks very good.
It's more of like a European cut. I think when it comes down to it, like, yeah, it's all like, again, it's all about proportions. Like what do you want to achieve? Okay, cool. This is what we're going to do to sure you want to look slimmer, cool, let's avoid these patterns. You want to look taller, cool, let's do this. It's like those type of different things that people don't necessarily know about, because unless you go custom, I mean, you don't really know the options that we kind of just lay in place so we can do that. I think the coolest thing is like when people come in, especially like the LGBTQ, you know, women that come in, they're like, wait a minute, I have a female frame, but I want a masculine cut. Like, how do I do things? And it's like, it's cool to see them like excited, because like, yo, like we made this specifically for you, and it fits you the way you want to, and like you look the way you want. And like sometimes it's cool, like they'll like, I've had it like a few times, both men, women, everybody, that get teary-eyed because like I didn't know I could look like this, how I wanted to look, and I'm like, man, that's what it's all about. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, yeah.
So like, yeah, just achieving that goal. And it's all like, I guess with any type of business, right? You know, what's the problem? Find the solution and be a solutions-based business, and then solve that problem. And then, you know, they tell their friends and you solve their problem and keep it going.
So, bro, you know, when we first came in, like I said, I'm still amazed at the spot, how beautiful it is, how everything is set up.
This bitch crazy.
When it comes to like building businesses and stuff, there's a big debate on like how you should use credit, or maybe, you know, some people just have the capital and they just put it up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's good.
What was one of your approach when you first came around? I know you said you spin the block and you were like, dang, you know, I keep driving out, you know, around this spot. It's the one. So you finally, you know, grabbed it. You financed it, you bought it. Or how did you go about it? You know what I'm saying? Did you use credit lines? Did you have like capital? Or?
Man, so I will say everything that I've done is all 100% me out of pocket.
That's tough. That's hard too.
Yeah. So no lines of credit, no investors. Yeah, everything's just been on me. So
hey, for real, bro.
Yeah, nah, because it takes bosses.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So I also think like it's funny how it happens. Like I think, and I've used this a lot, where like things just kind of fall in place, so I know I'm in the right spot. Mm-hmm. Happened with the truck, you know, the layoff, the push to either sink and swim, and then, you know, going to the domain and creating this identity, getting on GQ, that whole thing, and then during the pandemic, there was a video production company, and they're like, "Yo, we want to take this video of like colors.
Right.
So would you lend us some suits for shots?" Like, absolutely. So I went there. It's 2020, mid-pandemic, and then I see that they have like 2 spaces available for lease. And I'm like, damn, this is perfect.
Yeah.
You know, my spot can be here, the Tailor can be there. I'm in the middle of downtown. I got all this parking. And because it was a pandemic, I was able to negotiate a really good lease in very short term. Because I'm like, wait, I'm jumping from not paying anything to paying this.
Mid-pandemic?
Yeah, in the middle.
Oh, man. I know you got some good-ass rates on that shit.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got pretty low interest rates, huh?
Bro,
yeah.
Mid-pandemic, because 2021 is when it started booming.
But what's really good is, and I don't know if I'm just lucky, and I'll go ahead and say it, blessed, but I've been able to be in positions where I'm dealing directly with the owners. So it's like, you know, I'm not dealing with this person who wants to see these financials and this, and what have you done in this and all that kind of good stuff. It's like, yo, can you pay me this rent? And can you pay it on this time and not be a problem?
Yeah.
So luckily we were able to do that. And that's where we have our shop across the street, where now we have our Tailor. So it's our Tailor shop.
Wait, what is the one across the street? Is it just like the suits?
So like picture this, but like 2 of them. So it's like, it's that size.
It's like finalized shit. Like,
yeah. So that's where all the magic happens. Yeah. So that's where you get all the cutting and the sewing and all that good stuff. So I have 2 tailors, and they do all the hard work. They do all the real work. You know, I always tell them I'm the glorified middleman. They're the ones that are really doing the work. So then this place, like literally driving out, going 7, go home, this place was available. The gentleman bought this place back in the 80s.
Dang.
And he's been sitting on it.
Man, it's crazy that you snatched it up, because you know Austin going crazy on real estate.
100%. And it wasn't easy. And it wasn't easy. My man doesn't like lawyers. He doesn't like brokers. It was tough to even get a contract. It's crazy. And it's funny because he knows what he's sitting on, right? So obviously I come in like, let me buy this building.
Give it to you?
Let me buy, no. Well, no. So I think, because they tried to have something here before, and it didn't work out. But I don't know. Maybe he just felt good energy and just like, you know, it was like, he's like, this is your building. Do whatever you want with it. I don't care what you do with it. Just as long as, like I said, we pay the month and we're good. And he's like, you need to tear this down, you need to do this, you need to paint this, like whatever you want.
Yeah.
The only bad part about it is he also didn't know anything about TI. So, you know, talking about it's tenant improvement.
What is that?
So that means like the landlord pays you a certain amount to improve the building. So like HVAC and stuff like that. So they will cover those costs.
Pay you for this?
Yeah, so you can go in.
I didn't even know that was a
You know
thing.
about this? Bro, we need to tell my parents to do that.
Yeah,
you can go in and it's like, okay, this is what I expect the build out to be. Okay, this is what we're gonna get you in TI. Yeah. Okay, so if I have this much in TI, this is what I can expect to come out of pocket. So he didn't know about TI or wasn't interested in it. He's like, bro, I just want you to take the building out of my hands.
Right. Hedging his risk.
And I was like, cool. I did numbers compared to what I was looking at other places. I was like, okay, if I expected it to be this much, I would have come out of the same out of pocket anyway.
Right.
So it was like, all right, let's do it. But, in that case, let's keep the rent at this for the remainder of the lease. So no inflation throughout the term of the lease. Right. And luckily we were able to do that. And so, just roll the dice,
bro. Yeah, because you really hedge yourself because now rates are going stupid.
Yeah, and it's also like it's I always say who better to bet on than yourself, right?
Hey,
so
for real.
I'm gonna
said that before.
Bro, I was talking about that.
Yeah,
before. It's like because like the thing is you start realizing like working for somebody what you're only if you know what you're capable of. You know what I'm saying? And that really comes once you start having like self-understanding. And that's what I was telling you earlier, bro. Like you meet some people who like inspire you and they have that self-understanding and eventually like people eventually get it. You know what I'm saying? I feel like everybody eventually gets it. It takes different time for people and you can't like accuse them for that. Some people have different times, but eventually you get it. And that's the important thing. You know what I'm saying?
And it's like you said too, right? Like just watch. So it's like, people will come and be like, man, you're stupid for signing this lease because you're this and, you didn't get no TI and, you're paying this out of pocket. And I'm like, yeah, but, I also went into a truck and everybody's like, oh, you can't do it out of a truck and you can't do this either and stuff like that. I was like, wait, I had this vision in mind of what this place is going to look like and what it's supposed to be. And so far it's living up to the expectations. So I'm like, cool, we'll be here for 5 years at least and then hopefully a little bit longer. But obviously, the ultimate dream is, hopefully he'll do a solid for me like the person did for him when he sold it to him back in the 80s. And maybe he'll let me buy it from him then, and then we'll see what happens.
So that's part of the plan because, earlier we were talking about being elite. So, I mean, you already yourself elite. Where do you see yourself in the next 5-10 years? I know, bro, it's like you already came.
Oh, go ahead.
I got so many questions for him.
Bro, my bad.
No, it's all good because it's like he already came so far, but it's like you're still building, you're still motivated, you're still willing to, put up capital and grow bigger. So what's the next big thing for you?
So I'm going to tell you two things. Like one, I got to use like a quote from Emmanuel that I heard him talk about when he had this, when you had a discussion with his book. He's like, people talk about 3 years, 5 year, 10-year plans and stuff like that. And it was always a mindset that I had, just never could really articulate it. Yeah. But he was like, I don't believe in like these 3-5 year whatever plans because you're setting yourself up for you have to live up to this expectation where you might not reach it.
Oh, that's good.
And then you're automatically setting yourself up for failure. Whereas if you have a mindset of like step by step, then you're never disappointed and you can keep going.
What do you mean by that? Like a mindset of step by step?
Like my thing is like, okay, I'm here now, right? I'm not saying like, oh, in 3 to 5 years, I'm going to be in DC and in Dallas and in San Antonio and all these places. I think the next step for me is, okay, let me find out what I could do to want to alleviate myself from a lot of the tasks so that I can free myself up to figure out what I can do to scale. And then from that point, whatever opportunity presents itself for me, then I will execute that. And that's kind of how everything's been working for me, right? I didn't have no plans to jump into a showroom. I drove into this to drop these suits off and I saw this place. I didn't plan on moving into this building. Came to lease. It was a good opportunity and it made sense. So I just keep growing and elevating step by step through there.
That actually that's realistic. It's like focusing on the present, having that ambition, but focus on your little milestones, your epics. Focus on your epics that are building up to your milestones.
And then that thing too, it's like, another client that turned to a good friend of mine always used the words like staying comfortable. And I think that's the thing, right? It's like, okay, what am I going to do to like not be comfortable and not be complacent? Because I think that's where like issues and problems come when you're like, oh, it's easy now. Like I used to say when I first started, I was like, wait, let me just hit this 5-year mark and then I'll know this concept works and I'll be comfortable. I'm not any more comfortable today than I was day one. And it's like, okay, because now new things are coming up and the new ideas, new ambitions. Okay, well, how do I do these things? And I think the first step to get to that is just to free my time up a little bit.
Type shit.
Yeah.
Si tú quieres te busco, yo sé dónde tú vives, quizá hoy estás